So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Yeah. Ayes have it. Okay, minutes approved. Okay, change or addition to the agenda. We have one change to the agenda, and that is, number 5, changes to the agenda. New business item number 3, which is the request by Pier 1, Marina Buckley, LLC, for which subject to the local subdivision, operating within the building venue. That's the only change that we have to the agenda, that's gonna come in the modified.
Could you repeat that, please?
We can't hear
Speak
you.
into the microphone. I'm
Yeah,
so
we have
sorry,
one
we can't
change,
hear it.
we have one change to the agenda,
Okay.
and that's on item 5. In case you have an agenda, that's the change, is number 5. Number 5, new business, item 3. 5 on new business, item 2, okay?
Could you, Mr. Thorpe, could you tell us what that is, just as change to the agenda?
Yeah. Okay, what it is new business item number 3, request by Pier 1 Marina Gulf Breeze LLC, DBA Pensacola Beach Marina 655, Pensacola Beach Boulevard to sublease to the law on Sabine Bay to operate an event and wedding venue on leasehold. That's it. Okay? Now what we wanna do is, the adoption of the agenda, is a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ayes have it. External agency reports. Pensacola Beach Visitors Information Center.
Good evening, I am Jessica Simpson, the President and CEO of the Pensacola Beach Chamber and also the Director of the Visitor Information Center. So for the month of December, you should all have this, we welcomed just over 2,400 visitors into the building. Our top 5 states were Florida, Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, and Kentucky. And then our top international, they came from one place only, and that was Germany. And then for the year 2025, we saw just over 31,000, specifically 31,088 visitors that we served through the visitor center. So it's been a good year, and we'll have another good one. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, chairman comment. I don't really have, many comments. I see where, our executive director put an article in the news journal about the work that we have going on out here. Mike, good comments, and thank you for keeping us up front.
You're welcome, Charles.
Thank you. I'm talking about the comments. And one thing I saw, but it just wasn't Pensacola Beach, it was a couple other beaches, is that they were saying our contribution was down. I don't think we're down that much of a bad person. Someone reading that would kind of have a, it's not, wasn't Pensacola Beach, it was just Nevada and a couple of things. I wasn't too fond of that article. I just wasn't. Hey, did anybody else get to see that article? You, yeah, I'm supposed to see it, okay. Yeah, but the other article was great. Yeah, those are my comments. Okay. External agency reports. Pensacola Beach. Okay, we just done that, okay. It's in the agenda. Okay. It's in the agenda. Let's go to the regular agenda. Item number 10. Okay, item number 10, old business.
Just approve the consent agenda.
Approve the consent agenda.
Yes, I think the prior motion was done twice to adopt the agenda.
Yeah, I think
It was approval of the
We
consent.
should have said
Yes.
we had the consent agenda once, and I believe that's the motion that you want to make, motion to approve the consent agenda. Yeah. And I think, Jeremy, you wanted to second that particular motion.
I second the approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, all those in favor? Thank you so much. Go back down to, regular agenda, old business. We have item number 1, request by Stephen C. and Martha K. Luther, 806 Rio Vista Drive, lot 12, block 33, Village of Laguna, to renew that lease for another 99 years term under like provisions and conditions as are in the lease contained, including an option for further renewal. Report by Robbie Shaw. And this is referred from the January 14th meeting. We laid it on the table and now we're taking it off.
Thank you, Chairman. The lease for 806 Rio Vista Drive was renewed by the SRIA Board on November 20th, 2024, and it expires April 30th, 2155. The leaseholders have requested another 99-year renewal. This item was brought before the committee on October 8th, 2025, and the board on October 22nd, 2025. After board decision or discussion, the leaseholder requested to remove the request from consideration. The board voted on the following motion, and I'm assuming you all have read that. The leaseholders are bringing back their request back to the board for consideration at this time. Per the review and opinion of the SRA attorney, Ms. Bass, and as stated in multiple SRA board members meetings, this lease is not eligible for another 99-year renewal at this time, and staff recommends denial.
Okay. Do we have any speakers up? Tom Jardine.
Okay, thank you, Tom Jardine, Pensacola Beach. I've lived here for 30 years. And as always, I want to start out by welcoming all of our board members today and the executive director to the Citizens Santa Rosa Island Authority. Welcome everybody to the Citizens Island Authority. Paid for by the great Pensacola Beach leaseholders. We pay $9.6 million in ad valorem taxes every year for this facility and for all these beach operations, and of course we pay full ad valorem taxes as well. We get very little recognition. These are great people. The Loopers, Steve and Martha Loopert, they've lived here on Pensacola Beach since 1977, and they are fantastic advocates of Pensacola Beach. They exercise their contractual right for a further lease renewal. There are many, many variations of these leases, these lease contracts, as the quagmire. The Looperts possess, their lease terms are what we sometimes call perpetual leases. 30% of the leaseholders possess perpetual leases. Mr. Loopert's lease contract entitles him to the right and privilege at his election to renew his lease and an option for further renewals. That's the language that was written. His lease was written in 1957, and that lease is 70 years old, and he has the right at his election for further renewals. Now, let's update to 20 years ago. The Escambia County successfully ordered in court that the Looperts own their property. He is paying full ad valorem taxes on both his land and his house as though he owns his property. Unfortunately, our policy here at the Island Authority is not keeping up with the current tax policy in Escambia County. That's on us. Let's see. The courts have ruled that the Loopers possess the equivalent of fee simple. Based on those court rulings, Escambia County is collecting $20 million a year in ad valorem tax off this beach. $10 million in ad valorem taxes, I should say, and $10 million for the Escambia County School District. And because we're not keeping up with the county policy on their taxes, we are jeopardizing that $20 million.
Mr. Lucas,
Mr. Jardine.
I mean, Mr. Jardine.
Okay, 30 seconds, she said 30 seconds.
Yeah, 30, well,
But just give me, so I was just gonna say, I'm gonna be very upset with this board if you do a short-sighted decision today and jeopardize that $20 million that we're receiving for ad valorem taxes. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Jardine. Okay, we have, another speaker, for that, Mr. Lucas.
Steve Luper, native 6 Rio Vista Drive. I'm not sure where to start on this. I'm pretty sure that every one of you have already predetermined. You've said in past meetings how you're gonna vote. You kind of grilled me on the reason for why I would want to renew my lease, and apparently I did not give the appropriate reason. You're working without a policy. I gave you time to come up with a policy. I had to bring it back up because I didn't see where you were putting policy back on the agenda to talk about it. I've had board members make comments that this was a waste of your time, that you wouldn't put it on the agenda if it was up to you. I have had to come up here and request that you put it on the agenda after I sent emails and did not get replies. Mr. Thornton, I sent you an email asking you for the policy, how you folks were renewing these policies as they come up, and you have nothing. You've been renewing policies, renewed my last policy, my last lease with no policy. You've been renewing all these other leases with no policy. And I'd just like to remind you, when you make remarks, you don't like the time of day I get emails, you think this is wasting your time. When you all leave here, you're going to cross that bridge for the most part. We're going back here and we're laying down our heads in these leased properties where we've been for a long time. And you make comments, smart comments back. You don't like the time of day I send emails or who I send them to. I am following up on our lease and our home. And when you make those comments, you're making those comments not only about me, but about my wife. And people who come up here and spend their time at this podium, they do not need to be interrupted. They need to be respected. They need to be listened to. And this is the board's meeting. I was interrupted and told that I was being rude to one of the board members when it was my time up here at the podium. And it was done by the executive director. This is not his meeting. Mr. Johnson said he was okay with that, with me being interrupted up here. I shut up and I put up with it. That's not how we should be running these meetings. Y'all have a good evening.
Mr. Lucas, before you sit down, I just wanna say, I did see that email, but my apologies. I thought it was a group email. I get your emails all the time, and I just figured it was something you sent to the group, because it would not have been anything.
I sent it to you as the chairman. Requesting how you were making these decisions, and I wanted to have that information before I came up here, and I sent it knowing you didn't have a policy. You are doing this by the seat of your pants.
I'm gonna have to go back and look. My apologies for not responding.
Okay, but when somebody asks why I don't even get an email response, why I have to come up here, my emails aren't, I don't get responses from the Santa Rosa Authority. That's why I don't include them.
That's gonna take us out of where we are right now with this particular issue. So that's a separate issue. Okay, let's see. We got one item on the floor. Are there any discussions or anything, anybody want to comment before we take that vote? Are there any comments on?
I think we have to have a motion first.
On the one that having to do with
A motion on Ms. Rock.
As I stated in the last meeting, without a policy on this, I personally don't see any reason why I would vote to not approve the additional lease extension. So I'll make a motion that we approve the extension.
Before I call the question, what I'd like to do is just see if anybody else wants.
You will need a second.
Yes,
Second discussion.
Board's discussion.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I have to agree with Mr. Lucker, we do need a policy here, and I agree with Jeremy also. The policy, as I understand these leases, was that everybody gets, when it first started out, a 99-year lease. They had an option for renewal at the end of 99 years. By implication, I would think that when someone comes in here and asks for a lease renewal, it should be for 99 years. Just 99 years. They come in here in 2026 and they ask, and they have more time left on their lease, they get a new 99-year lease, and that new 99-year lease ends in 21-25. Not keep going on. We can't have, the intent of this was never, in my mind, for anybody to have a perpetual lease, even though it sounds that way. They had the option for renewal. But if you had given them a 99-year lease and they come back in 2027, you give them another 99-year lease that expires in 21-26, and not keep going on and giving them, you know, another 99 years in addition to whatever they have now. I don't know, I haven't read that, see exactly where that would be. But the intent, as I read it, is for people to have 99-year leases and only a 99-year lease. That to me would be the optimal policy here. And it would clear up a lot of confusion on this. We wouldn't have people coming back, and all right, we'll give you, as I mentioned last time, somebody was asking for, they gave a friend of mine arbitrarily 50 years, and this was after Hurricane Ivan. He didn't know why. I couldn't tell him why. But anyway, that would be, of course, Jeremy has his own motion, but I would suggest 99 years, and thank you for the opportunity to address this.
I wanted to do the discussion before I asked for the motion. So, but since we had that on the floor, I want to finish the discussion, we finish the discussion, we'll do the second on it. So I'm just relating the second, to give everybody an opportunity to make that comment. Anyone else have a comment?
Excuse me, Mr.
Excuse me.
Chairman, I think number one, we have Jeremy's motion on the table. We need to second on that particular motion so that we can have a discussion.
Yeah, but it was my interpretation that we would discuss before calling it, before.
No, the way it works procedurally, a motion is made, and then it has to have a second, and then the board discusses it before it is voted on in the public question. But if it doesn't get a second, then the motion dies for lack of a second, and the matter is over. So you have to have a second to the motion that's on the table before you go to discussion, yes.
Okay. Get a second. Do we have a second? Because Jeremy made the motion. Well, if we don't get a second, it's gonna die for lack of a second.
All right.
So it dies for lack of a second.
Yeah.
Are we still on this?
No second.
There's no second.
No
So
second.
the only thing before us now is whether or not to approve their lease agreement as it stands now for another 99 years, and that just died.
No, that's
No,
correct. So it died.
It died.
So we go to the next.
We're not
item
even
on the
discussing it. We can't even discuss it because the motion was,
Well, somebody else can make a motion,
put it in.
Yeah.
make a friendly amendment.
It died for lack of a second. So,
Well, at this point, is it proper for me to make a motion for lease renewals for 99 years only in order to establish some policy here, which I think is what everybody would like?
So what you would have to do then, you'd have to make a.
and put it into a motion. Take that and put it into a motion, then the board.
Yeah, that'd have to be a friendly motion
Yeah, yeah.
substitute to Mr. Johnson's motion and ask him if he's willing to do that and second your motion. But his motion dies for lack of a second. So that's how you procedurally do that.
And your motion wouldn't have anything to do with Mr. Luke. It would be just a separate motion.
Policy issue.
Yeah, if you want to do that, you can do it, but you still need a second.
Jeremy, would you like to amend your motion to 99 years, or do you want to continue with what you have?
No, I don't want to amend my motion because in this example, Mr. Luker has more than 99 years. motion is to approve the extension.
Second.
That's it.
Well, my motion really is to establish a policy here, which I don't know if that needs to come to the board as an agenda item.
What you're doing, you're getting into a total separate issue, and which has to do with policy. So if you wanna make that motion, then the board can either, somebody can second it, and then we can discuss it or put it on the table and discuss it later, if that's what you wanna do.
Yeah, well, could we bring that back then for future agenda items?
Yeah, if you make the motion,
For a
second.
policy.
If you make it, and you can, if someone second it,
Making a motion,
then,
we'll put this back on the agenda.
Right.
To establish a policy.
it can become an, yeah. You gotta do a second. And we gotta put the motion in.
I thought I just made the motion. I made a motion that we put this back on the agenda in order to establish a policy for when leases can be renewed and the extent and time frame in which they can be renewed. So it would be on, my motion would speak to this being placed on the next agenda.
Can
I don't think we can put that on the agenda because,
Could I just suggest something? I think that rather than building a policy around a specific leasehold request, I would recommend that you just ask the staff, with the consensus of the board, to put the policy matter back on the agenda and let us come back to you with a proposal for a policy that could then inform these individual, leaseholder applications.
So
I
with
think
that-
that would be a better approach to it.
that's what I was saying. I was
I think
saying the
that's-
same.
Sorry, so with that in mind, the only thing we would be considering, Jermaine, would be the staff's proposal and nothing else, correct?
At that point, yes, but I think, and if the board wants to give the staff direction as to what they'd like to see in that proposal, I think the last time that was suggested, and, you could do that. The board is, perhaps that would be a discussion for board forum at the end of this meeting, but I don't think that you can establish a policy by taking action in a particular manner on one particular request specific to a specific lease.
I'm gonna finish
At least that would be my guidance.
what I was saying, and just like she said, that one policy, Mr. Jardine, so if you wanna make a motion for any type of policy, anything, remember, if we go at a policy, then we're gonna have to go do the same thing with whatever policy that we're going after. I'm just saying that if you say change the policy, then when we go to that policy, we're probably gonna have to rescind it. We can't reconsider it because it's an old policy. We're probably gonna end up having to rescind that policy, but you can make that motion, and we get a second, and either you can put it in a committee for review or something, and review it.
Or Bruce, at the end of the meeting, you have the board members form, you can request staff if you,
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a
yeah,
little.
so they can do it. Yes, sir. But this particular item fails for lack of a second. So that would put us on to the next item, item number 3.
Okay. Well, we have one more speaker on old business number 1. Melissa,
Piano. Thank you, John Thornton. I appreciate the chance to jump in. I first wanted to do a little bit of clarification on the legal for the sort of like concept of a never-ending perpetual lease. Mr. Jardine and I we don't always see eye to eye on the leases in the fee simple, although we've known each other a long time, and I've got respect for him, and I appreciate how hard he fights for the public. I really do. Just because we don't agree on some particular things, it doesn't mean that I don't consider his contributions valuable. But the perpetual leases are for 100-year leases, not for 99-year leases. Anyone that wanted clarification on this could just call Chris Jones or Buck. This was a huge bone of contention down at the BCC for years. Because the 100-year leases were kind of seen as a way for the BCC to thread the needle and get out of the question of fee simple. My good friend Jeff Bergosh was the leading proponent of that. He and I didn't agree on it. Save Pensacola Beach lead Diane Crummell fought against that also because in effect the 100-year leases would indeed have legally been seen as perpetual leases. And I'm also concerned that the renewal, what this action is about right now is the renewal of a permit. It requires voting yes, voting no, dropping it, or pushing it to another meeting. You can't just sort of drift off and not deal with an item on the agenda. You do have to complete that item in some way. And the other thing is that of course there could have been a friendly amendment, and I'm glad to see that part of it got worked out. And Mr. Johnson, you were not interested in a friendly amendment. And thank you, Mr. Childers, for fighting for some policy, but of course you guys obviously can't vote on that tonight because that would need to be properly noticed as an agenda item because it has to do with finance. So spending money is most things that you guys discuss. So per the state statute, that would have to be publicly noticed and put on a future agenda. But in the meantime, the public needs an answer to the question of the lease renewal, even if that answer is we're not going to discuss it and we're going to kick it to another meeting. Thank you.
Ma'am, can I, before you leave, the reason that issue died because when he put it out there, it didn't get a second, so there was no other, we couldn't do it.
Oh, I understand that.
That question died.
And
And what we were trying to do.
Chairman Thornton, I think that what might have been confusing people is you keep using the term calling the question. Calling the question is a very specific thing in Robert's rules where basically as chair, you've had it with the discussion, or any of the other members can also call the question and say, I call the question, and at that point, then you all have to vote on whether you can call the question.
When you call the question,
Yeah.
it takes a vote, right?
Right.
But,
No, first you have to vote on calling the question.
right. Well, you're right.
Okay,
You're
thank
right.
you. But I mean, I do hope that we'll have some determination on what the actual board action or non-action on this specific lease is.
But if he didn't
And I
get a
appreciate the
second,
time.
not to cut you off, but if he didn't get a second, it died.
I'm aware,
Whether I call the question or not, it died.
I'm aware.
It's dead.
You don't have to call the question on everything as a chair though, for it to take a vote. When you say call the question, you're cutting off any future, you're introducing a specific mechanism that says, I'm tired of the discussion. And so I'm just saying that might.
Yeah, that's what you do when you call a question, you basically say, let's take a vote.
Okay, that's your
I'm
prerogative.
tired of discussion. We discussed enough, let's take a vote.
That was a pretty quick
But
call
before
to
you
question.
But before you do that, you give everybody a chance. You got to give all the members a
Sure.
chance, and everybody has spoken.
Gotcha, I think we're in agreement,
Yeah,
thank you.
that's when you call the question, it's time to take a vote. Okay. Item number 2. Request by, Tom Jardine, 1112 Via de Luna Drive, Lot 2, Lot 17, Dover, Saguna, to renew his lease for another 99-year term under like covenants, provision, and condition as are in the lease contained, including an option for further renewal. Staff report by Rocky Shop, referred from the January 14th committee.
Thank you. The lease for 1112 Via de Luna Drive was renewed by the board March 23rd, 2023, and expires September 29th, 2167. The leaseholder has requested another, which would be a second 99-year renewal. In our opinion, this lease is not eligible for another 99-year renewal at this time, per previous board discussion and advice from legal counsel. Staff recommends denial.
Do we have
I motion to approve the renewal.
we have a second? If we can't get a second, the motion is going to die. And we would have to, any comments, any discussion?
With us as speakers?
It kind of ties into the other, to what we were gonna do with Mr. Lugo. That particular, if you wanna come up, Mr. Jardine.
Okay, Tom Jardine, Pensacola Beach, I've been here for 30 years. If I knew there would be so many people here today, I probably would have prepared better. I was thinking about reading my statement, but I'm not that good at that. But what we need to do, in my opinion, is to align our old 80-year-old policies that don't make any sense with the current tax policy coming from the courts that Escambia County has been endorsing for since 1975. Why can't we update our policies on this beach to be in alignment with the current tax policy? In my opinion, the function of this lease system is to restrict the amount of taxes we get on Escambia County. That's all this, I don't know anybody's ever told me one legitimate benefit of this old lease system. All it does is restrict the amount of ad valorem taxes we're getting in Escambia County. We don't have enough leadership in this county to move forward, it does seem like. We're all mired in 1947. I've been looking for the answer to this question. Do I or do I not own my property?
No.
Who is going to, excuse me, people, do I or do I not own my property? That's what the question is. If I do own my property, you need to make sure that our policies on this beach are in alignment with that. If I don't own my property, you guys are supposed to be leaders. You need to go talk to Bubba Peters, and you need to go talk to Scott Lunsford and tell him to take the leaseholders off the tax rolls immediately. You can't have it both ways. We've been going on this same, we've been mired in the 1940s for 80 years, and then you guys haven't done anything to update our policies for 20 years, since 2004, where Escambia County has gone to the courts and successfully ruled that I own my property. The county says I own my property, the courts say I own my property, this island authority is not giving me a lease renewal. I don't get it. Right now there's a lawsuit challenging the tax policy on this beach. If you guys are denying these lease renewals, I think that you're giving credence to that that lawsuit and jeopardizing $20 million in tax revenue. Thank you.
I do have a comment. It's my understanding, and I'm not an expert on the leases, but that when this was originally set up, it was given to the county, and the government gave it to the county, this, that, and the other. And what you do, you lease your property. You own the lease to your property. I'm not an expert, so you gotta go to Bubba Peters, but I never heard of leaseholders owning per se, like a person out in town and government own that property. It was always my understanding that you own the lease to your property. And that's an issue that has been fought over for a while, but it has not came to fruition yet. You still lease the property. Now, you can do a lot of things with it. You can borrow money with this, that, lease. Everything you're doing, you're doing against the lease. Now, that's just me growing up around the beach and coming to the beach. That's my understanding. I'll ask the attorney.
Yes, Mr. Tillman, you are correct. The private interests out here are held through the lease. And they're 99-year leases, some of which do have provisions for renewal, perpetual renewal, but not ownership. So it is, these 99-year leases
I've been around the beach
equate
since I was.
to ownership and fee simple.
I've been around the beach. I used to work at Buckland and Tiki House, and it's not about, this meeting's not about me, but I've always, since I was 16, I'll be 74 April 11th, so, you know, so I've never known that. Okay, we have Steve Bluefoot.
Steve Whippert, 6 Rio Vista Drive. Mr. Thornton, I don't think there's a person in this room that's an expert in this. It's pretty apparent. what's going on here. Mr. Jardine's lived out here a long time. He's a taxpayer. He's a good man. He pays his lease fees. It's my opinion that when I first became a lease holder out here, I wasn't gonna have to pay taxes. And y'all have an opinion that these are only 99-year leases, and we're only exercising one 99-year lease at a time. So in actuality, it's only one at a time that we have, and the other one would kick in after the fact. Not renewing these leases have some cons associated with it. By not renewing the lease, there's gonna be some people thinking that, hey, this is not like fee simple. We do have to think about this, Mr. Thornton. You never did. We think about this lease thing all the time, or we wouldn't be up here. You folks who don't have these leases and who haven't experienced, you don't know what this is like. You're guessing. But I got my opinion. I wasn't a taxpayer. You guys have your opinions. There should only be 99-year leases, or you shouldn't renew these leases just because. But our opinions don't really matter. We need to look at that contract in the way it was written, and to come up with a policy after the fact and after you've already been doing this. How are you gonna implement that? Mr. Johnson, you asked when I first brought this up, you asked Ms. Bass, is there a legal way that we can deny this request? I think it was how it was put. Ms. Bass said no. But Mr. Lipper does it. Everybody's gonna wanna do it. I just read the lease. It was a question that I put out there. And if that's not the way it went, Ms. Bass, you can speak up when I'm done here at the podium. My time's up. But this is an administrative function. And the cons definitely outweigh the pros for renewing this thing. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Mr. Luke. Okay. What we have next on? Kevin, do we have a Kevin? Kevin West?
Kevin Wade. Thank you. Over the years, I've watched shenanigans throughout all the county. And, you know, the last year, I've been able to go ahead and throw the tripod away because the CMR has done such an amazing job in the county of recording the meetings and making them available out on YouTube. Now, I ask you seriously, please speak into the microphones. They're in front of you. Over and over and over again, we have made public records requests for what happened in the meetings here. And over again, we're told the audio must have been broken. Now, the red light's been on. The meetings that I've been at, the red lights were on. I have it on video. Watching the shenanigans of who gets their lease renewed, watching the cavalcade, just this amazing amount of folks who rushed to get their leases re-upped at $7, at $14, large, very large groups of folks. And because they knew that there were changes coming. Well, when there's changes coming, seems like it's whether you're liked or not, if you get to go ahead and be able to renew. And that's not a good look. Now, I don't know if I agree exactly or not. I know that Tom pays a lot. I know that Steve pays a lot. But when it looks like a bunch of Heathers running an outfit, you know, and I know some of you, and I know you ain't that way, but this game of letting it drop for lack of a second, it's not a good look.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. West. You put down you was gonna speak on all the business number 2, but you got a lot in that was outside of that. what you said, you put down here, you were gonna speak on number two, but you spoke on a lot more. We probably would have saved that for the visiting section. We wanted you to speak on item two. You did get something in, but you kind of misled us there. We'll put number two down. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay. Item number three. Item number three, request by Robert Rink, Portofino Island Resort, 10 Portofino Drive, to utilize $9,950 from the Portofino Island Improvement Fund to replace pavers on the CR 399 adjacent to Portofino Tower. Staff report by Mike Burns, referred from the January 14th, 2026 committee.
Thank you so much, Charles. And what we did here is we moved this from the committee meeting to the board meeting because, Mr. Johnson did not want to have to recuse himself from the entire consent agenda, so we moved this from the consent agenda to here. Tonight, we should have Reese Rinke, I believe. Reese is here, I stand back there, just in case there needs to be a formal request for the $9,950 funds to be utilized out of the Portofino Fund to pay for these pavers. So Mr. Rinke is here to formally make that request, and what it would do, it'd go to fix those pavers in the road. It's a very good price on this to do that for $9,950, and those funds, that's what they were appropriated for originally in the contract with the Portofino Island Fund. We're gonna hopefully do that project in the month of February, and it'll be completed in about 14 days. So to be able to do that project, it'll come in and be done and completed before spring break. So that's what that is here. Mr. Rinke is here in case you have any questions of him, and just
You want me to formally go up?
yeah, if you just make the request, Reese, please, sir, for the
Hey everybody, Reese Rinke, so here to formally request the monies to replace or sections of that road that have settled over the years. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Reese.
Thank you.
I move approval.
I'll second the motion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I did want to reiterate that I am recusing myself from this agenda item.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, well, it's been motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion passed. Okay, let's go into, item number 4. Let's see, all business 4. We have a speaker on item 4. Yes. Item of discussion to reconsider the approval of the request, report by Bruce Children.
This is my motion for reconsideration for the dock permit, in essence, a lease amendment. Asking the board to reconsider the vote due to the negative impact placing this pier is gonna have on the area known as Baby Beach. As you're probably aware, there's been a lot of controversy over this among the residents of the island and those that use Baby Beach. It's also come to my attention and understanding after talking to the coastal engineer that the tidal flow is east to west, meaning that any pier placed to the eastward side of Baby Beach will accrete sand to the east side of the pier and not allow renourishment of Baby Beach itself. To illustrate that, a few years back we put a pier in out there where we have a place at Boardwalk, and not knowing any better, we put it on the east side of the property. And in a year and a half time, we had lost 20 feet of beach. And in 2 years, we had lost 25 feet of beach. What happens with it is it forms a sort of sandbar when you put the pier in. And if you want to see it, you can, like I said, you can go to Boardwalk and see what happened in hours. And it kind of has to, the water, the sand has to go around the end of that sandbar in order to fulfill or fill in Baby Beach. And if it's not there, it's taking the rest of it, it's taking the sand that is there away. Now, I get this from talking to a coastal engineer who clued me into all of this, and he was telling me about what the effect is gonna be on Baby Beach. We at one time were gonna put in, memory serves, $1.1 million for, what do they call those, like T-groins?
That's correct, Bruce.
T-groins?
We
T-groins, thank
haven't made any advancement on that, and that's at Sharp Point, which is, I
Yeah.
think, to the west of Baby Beach.
Yeah, and I never quite figured out what those T-groins were gonna do. I don't know if I ever got a good answer to that. The point is that if we allow this pier to go in, number one, it's gonna have a negative effect on Baby Beach, and I don't think Baby Beach has 25 feet of sand to be given away. It's already, if you've been out there, pretty close to where the concrete is, where there's a parking area, and it's probably gonna undermine that area there. These people, and another reason for this, is these people are upland landowners, and as such, they actually don't have a right, they don't have riparian rights to that area out there to build a pier across. And pursuant to Florida law, Florida statute 253.141, and I think I gave everybody a copy of this, it defines riparian rights are those incident to land bordering on navigable waters. And the statute goes on to say, the land of which the owner holds title must extend the ordinary high water mark of the navigable water in order that riparian rights might attach. So, to begin with, these people do not have the right to build a pier. This is public land that we're taking away, in essence. And I made a mistake the first time, when we voted on this. Apologize for that to the people.
Can I make a comment? I want
Go ahead.
to make a comment. Before we get into that, the first thing we have to do, on Robert rule, you have to reconsider. It's gotta either be that day or it's gotta be part of a convention or something. So
No.
we passed the reconsider, so we can rescind what we would have to do based on Robert rule. We would have to rescind the old vote, and that, you have to do that by a third majority, and then put this back in. So the motion would be to rescind. And am I correct, ma'am?
Well, when we looked at this before, I think you can do it one of two ways. You can move to reconsider. Typically, that is done at the same meeting. However, again, you're a small board, Robert's Rules is a guide, and when there's new information, that could be a basis for reconsideration. But this, yeah, it's kind of the same way to get at it is to rescind, which, you know, that can be made at any time. So that might be a cleaner way to do it, but either one.
That's the clean way to, what Robert Rule
That's
says
right.
is that you rescind the old one and you discuss the new one. Now, if we wanna, we can make an assessment, we would have to vote on it.
Well, I think Mr. Childers is just laying the background and groundwork for the motion to either rescind or reconsider, so it's kind of hard to separate the substance.
I'm trying to get into the part where this board is gonna have to make a decision before we get.
Yes,
put
you
down
will
the
first
vote.
have to vote on whether to reconsider or rescind based upon whatever the motion.
You wanna make the motion? Make a motion.
Well, in saying that, there's a lot of people here that I think are wanting to speak on this issue. So, yeah, I would like to give them the opportunity to have their say. I don't think it's gonna hurt anything if we pass the motion or vote to reconsider this, to give them the opportunity.
Okay.
And then have the vote on whether or not to allow the pier or not. Which I
Okay.
think is what Mary Jane said.
Can you come up, please?
You have speakers in front of you.
We'll start with Mr. Jardine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Tom Jardine, Pensacola Beach, been here for 30 years. And first, I want to applaud the D1 board member, and I'm sure all you board members are going to support him, I'm 100% sure of that, for revisiting this. It gives me a little bit of hope. It's never the wrong time to do the right thing. We have been mismanaging this beach since the 1940s. We're not changing with the times. In the 1940s, this beach was thought to be worthless. The federal government wanted out. They were looking for one of the counties to take it over. I think Santa Rosa County did not want this beach. Escambia County took it, and Navarre Beach. They paid $10,000, it was worthless. And Escambia County thought maybe they had a vague idea, maybe we'll make money off it. So they tried to develop it. And they enticed people to come and put their money and buy these, put houses up and that kind of thing. So for decades, this beach was thought to be worthless, and the idea was to encourage private development. But this island authority has not changed with the times. You guys are still trying to encourage private development. This issue shows me a couple things. One, it shows me that this lease system does absolutely nothing to safeguard public access. I can't believe what we did. We gave, from what I understand, we gave that non-waterfront property owner a riparian easement. He did not have waterfront property. We gave him a 92-foot riparian easement to build a private elevated walkway that took him to the water, so that we could also prove him a private pier over the public waterway. And then we put up a smoke screen. We falsely said that it was the Department of Environmental Protection that mandated that we do that. That was nonsense. We're in charge of land management here. So the whole thing just stinks to high heaven. We need to change our policies to reflect the fact that we're not interested in any more private development. We're interested in safeguarding these public beaches. We need to rescind that riparian easement we gave them, and we need to rescind the approval for the private pier. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Janet C. Kirk.
Yes, thank you. I can't say that I'm a tree hugger, but I'm a seagrass hugger. And the piers that we're putting up are shading the seagrasses and making them recede. I appreciate Mr. Childers' remarks about the hydrology. That's another issue, and it is not helping the health of the beach. I've lived on the beach for 35 years. I retired from the Environmental Protection Agency, and the birds are not coming like they used to. We don't have the small fish in the seagrasses because we don't have the seagrasses. And I urge you to consider these factors. They're perhaps minor in the scheme of things, but they are important. And every time you permit a pier, you degrade the environment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Okay, we have Diane Crummell.
Yes, before I start my minutes, please, I'm going to be discussing 2 of the ordinances, and I would like for someone to pass these out. And I also provided a copy for the attorneys over there, to the board members, and to see. As I'm going to be referring to these ordinances, I just want to make sure that you have them, or if you have not seen them. But there's a copy for each of you in there. These are ordinances that were passed during the time to save Pensacola Beach, after the hard work that we did protecting and preserving our beaches out here on Santa Rosa Island. With that being said, my name is Diane Crummell, and I'm the founder and the leader of the movement known as Save Pensacola Beach that killed Matt Gaetz's bill in 2016 that tried to overturn an act of Congress by the federal government that deeded much of Santa Rosa Island to the citizens of Escambia County. There were 2 key restrictions in the deed. First all was the uses, including any lease of the land on the island, had to be in the public's interest. And the second, it was deeded in perpetuity or forever to the citizens of Escambia County and could never be sold or given away. We went on to get a referendum on the 2018 ballot to protect our beaches that won 80.2% of the vote. We then went on to get a number of ordinances passed that added additional layers of protections to our beaches. With anything dealing with St. Pensacola Beach, I have received legal counsel on the following information. I first want you to focus on ordinance number 2018-29 dated August 2nd, 2018. The major point to make in this ordinance is the following part. To prohibit new private leaseholds on previously undeveloped areas of Santa Rosa Island. That is in that ordinance. This ordinance would take in some of those, this would include some of the existing piers out there today and possibly new piers yet to be built after August 2nd, 2018. I would like you to consider the following factual statements. Amendments to the primary lease, or whatever you want to call it, are not part of the original lease. Number two, what was the status of the land that the piers are on or could be built on when the original lease was signed? Of course you know the answer is they were unleased. Number three, what is the status of this land once the piers are on them? Of course you know the answer is they are leased. This law clearly states that any unleased land cannot be leased, no matter if you call it an amended lease or whatever you want to call it. The bottom line is that if the land, when the lease was signed, was unleased, it wasn't part of the original lease. Therefore, any piers constructed after August 2nd, 2018 are illegal. Based on the above ordinance, I am asking you to rescind your decision on the pier that was granted in December of 2025 as it is blatantly illegal. The other ordinance I want to focus on is the ordinance number 2019-26 dated September 5th, 2019. Part of that ordinance adopted a policy reaffirming the restrictions of the 1947 deed that the lands on Santa Rosa Island deeded to Escambia County shall be used by it for such purposes as it shall be deemed to be in the public interest. The key word here, you guys, is public interest. There is no way that privately funded docks are in the best interest of the public. And I want to conclude that while we do understand that as proxies for the commission, that 5 of the SRIA board members aren't elected by the public, the at-large member is. And we doubt that any of the well-intentioned members who sit on the board for our 5 Escambia commissioners want to do anything that puts the electability and legacy of the elected officials they represent at jeopardy in the eyes of the voters. We are watching, the voters are watching. We're counting on y'all to do the right thing, clean this mess up.
Thank you, Ms. Crump. Let's see. Wade.
No peanut.
Kevin Wade. Kevin Wade.
I don't think he's gonna take suggestions.
Can you let Mel speak for a sec?
Do you mind? Is that okay?
He's gonna substitute, you're gonna substitute.
No, we just wanted to change, we submitted in a particular order because it makes sense in that order with you, at your discretion, if it'd be okay. Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Mr. Childers first and foremost for bringing the rehearing of this, and I'm sorry we're jumping in front of your suggestion that you wanted to rescind. That was, of course, not our choice to do the public speaking. Before that, and I also want to say that I'm sorry that I said Buck when I meant Bubba, and clearly when I was talking about the perpetual leases, I meant Bubba, and Buck Lee is hanging like a specter over this fine mess we're in. Because as I understand it, this whole thing kicked off 3 executive directors ago and has only gotten worse as time has gone along, and we are, a lot of us, in a fine fix because of the recommendations. Who's in a fine fix? The SRIA board members, who I don't believe were properly informed of the legal or all of the rest of this. Quite frankly, I'd be upset if I were you guys. Who else? The public. Who else? The people who, in many cases, unknowingly, sure, there were some of these owners that understood that they didn't have the riparian rights, etc., but I would imagine many of them think that they're well within the law. And in fact, what happened is y'all permitted something you didn't even have the authority to permit. So what are you going to do? There are a lot of wise people out there that are saying the only legal remedy for this is to tear down all the docks and have the SRIA make reparations. I want to make very clear that is not Save Pensacola Beach's position. We're hoping to find a suitable, workable thing for all the stakeholders. Mr. Burns, I don't know if you circulated my email. I sent out an email today with our official statement and a proposal, and I did ask Mr. Burns specifically to circulate it to all of you. I didn't have time to find all the emails, so I sent it as a courtesy to Mr. Peden because he was the one that had made the motion. Those docks, most of them aren't legal because they don't have sufficient upland interest. They don't, and mean high tide line is one, or the high tide line is one definition. Other definitions are actually the mean high tide line on the riparian. They don't come anywhere close to that. And so we are really hoping that for a two-part policy, and speaking of policies, you guys seem to be in need of a lot of policies. The first part of the policy being that from here on out, any privately funded infrastructure is prohibited over public lands that are zoned for recreational and conservation on Santa Rosa Island. The second part of that is at which time that the existing docks cannot be repaired, there's a prohibition against building them again. And then that way, at least the owners who have them now will have been able to enjoy for some years it's really quite a luxury to have a dock where there wasn't one that was legal to be permitted. So maybe that is a compromise that everyone could reach. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Name?
Third, Kevin Wade, 413 Southeast Poplitz. 30-year resident plus of Escambia County. I moved here to teach people how to slay fish by hook or shoot them in the head. And I remember the time when we would find our spots using Loran. GPS wasn't worth much. Dead reckoning off of the Hilton and the actually it was the Holiday Inn at the time, wasn't it, sir? And watching this skyline change. Well, change is going to come, absolutely. Changes that come need to be in the public interest, just like piers, just like amenities that are built out here. And like to allow a dock and changes to Baby Beach, Mom's Beach, you know, there's a reason for these names of these areas. And yeah, it's time to like really get under the hood and come up with a good policy that makes sense, that follows the law. Absolutely. You know, every grain of sand. I am tired. I am so tired. We've won for beach access over and over and over again in my tenure here. And it's time for the new breed to come. You know, I would rather be protesting and getting my Soros check, honestly. But, you know, the insanity of allowing a dock for someone who has no actual beach right like that over a beach that people have been coming to for years and years and years. Please don't do these things. I don't want to be coming here. You don't want to listen to me. All right? And Mr. Childers, thank you very much, sir. Well put. I really wish we could hear the rest of what you were going to say, because you're hitting it, and it's just great. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, Melissa Pino, she already spoke. Steve Lucas.
Steve Liquidator, 638 Vista Drive. I looked at the agenda package that was submitted with that pier, and there were some things missing in there. I did not see anything from the neighboring leaseholders or stakeholders, which would be the public in the Baby Beach area. And That has always been part of the agenda package. I didn't see it in there. Also heard Mr. Burns get up there and say this was private docks, private piers. These are private. The Attorney General ruled on this. I did several requests for information, asking for documentation stating where any of these docks, piers, are private. I got absolutely nothing. If you look at that pier agreement lists crossovers for people. That's for people who don't want to walk out on the dock. Those agreements were written anticipating the public's use on there. Nobody gets exclusive rights out there on the water. In the private docks, I think you need to have your executive director elaborate on that to you folks and to the public. I've used that beach for going on 50 years down there, and my neighbors do. We don't need to be trespassing on people's private docks. And there's no private docks down there. If there was, we would all know about it. And you need to clear that up, because when I go down there and walk in that dock, I don't want the sheriff's department to be called down there when I walk on it. I'm gonna start doing that. And you should not be putting the Escambia County Sheriff's Department in bind to go down there and try to enforce something that they don't have jurisdiction to enforce. You got nothing, absolutely nothing saying that those are private piers. And when I walk away from the podium, I'd like for one of you board members to address the staff, ask them why they're pushing this stuff forward without proper documentation. It's putting you guys in a bind. That pier down there should never have even come to the agenda. And the leaseholder who put that in, you steered him the wrong way. It should not have happened. And I listened back to the tapes or the transcripts or whatever from the December 17th meeting. You have legal counsel up there. I didn't hear your legal counsel chime in at all and advise you folks on what you were voting on up there. You all said you were voting on something you knew was illegal and you did it anyway. I have a hard time comprehending that. I also know that a few of you said you went down there and you looked at it. And it looks like everybody else off to the east did it too. And you were right. You weren't mistaken. Those people got piers in when erosion happened up to their leasehold property. They had to wait. Your staff didn't tell you that, and they don't know, they don't have the historical data.
Pam Spear.
I live at 717 Rio Vista, and I've been on the beach basically my whole life. Unlike not having a policy that we discussed earlier with the lease renewals, we have policies on the books about what can be built on the beach and what cannot be built on the beach. And I find it frustrating and bewildering the inconsistency of the enforcement. A few years ago, my husband and I wanted to add on to our neighbor's dock, Fred Donovan. He was all for it. We were denied, said fine, no problem, but yet you're going to let another person build a completely new dock. Well, we were told there's a policy in place and the dock could only be this big. We accepted it. There's a rule. There's a reason for the rule. I didn't question the reason, but we followed it. These rules are in place for you guys to follow. And the arbitrariness and the inconsistency of policies from the cuttings 2 doors down from me, from the piers, maybe we will, maybe we won't, is just wrong. I shouldn't have to come to a meeting every so many months and defend a policy that's already on the books. It shouldn't have to be, as a constituents, you guys represent us, and there are laws already in place. If you don't know the law, and we don't expect you to understand everything, this stuff's really complicated. And that's the problem, because most of us that live out here, we do know erosion. We do know the law. We've lived it. We've seen the changes. So a lot of times, we know more than you do because we've lived it, and we're more than willing to educate, but there shouldn't be such animosity. We want what's best for the public. We want public access. We're more than willing to do whatever we can to get the citizens of Pensacola out here. We understand we're the lucky ones, but we certainly don't want to not have the same access for others that don't have the luckiness. But you guys need to understand the law as it is and enforce it. This, we'll do this dock here, we'll cut this here, we'll let this be here. That's not the way things should happen.
Thank you, Ms. Freeman. I want to say one thing that, speaking for the board, there is no animosity towards the leaseholders of going on the beach. We love the beach, or we love the leaseholders, but sometimes we may not always agree, but we love the leaseholders as well as everyone on the beach. We don't have any animosity in our heart. Thank you so much. Let's see what we have going on now. I guess we need to, it's on the floor. Bruce, have we made a motion to rescind or either reconsider? So I guess we need to get that motion out of the way and then get a vote. To do that, we're gonna need 2/3, 4 people vote for it.
Yes, sir. Make a motion to reconsider our vote.
Can we get a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, it's been motion, and it's been second.
And here's my discussion. Ms. Bass, could you, or Mr. Burns, let's start from the beginning of this, when this came forward. In my mind, we have 4 lawyers on this dais, and I don't think that we would do something illegal on purpose. So, riparian rights, I think this board has the authority to grant repair, but the owner, if it's still owned the land or control the land underneath, they don't have, does not transfer the riparian right to that owner. But, I mean, I want to start from the beginning and get the whole thing here. And Mike, I believe you said that, this certain case, there may be one more like this on the beach, if there's any at all. But I want to hear Ms. Bass first.
So, the actual permitting of the pier out over the water and the jurisdiction over the water and the determination of whether the applicant has the riparian rights, that determination is made by DEP. The Island Authority, however, in accordance with the county code, has the authority, if they get the DEP permit, to then come in and to permit the design and construction of the pier, and they do it in accordance with specific design standards that are set forth in the Escambia County Code. The pier amendment is a requirement under the code that, or it's how we implement, how the Island Authority has always implemented those requirements, to say your pier has to meet these certain criteria, and you have to take out the insurance and name the Island Authority as a, as a secondary insured on the certificate of insurance. You have to provide that information to us before we're going to look at your plans for the pier. So it's kind of a multi-step process there. And again, what you approved in approving the pier amendment was we'll look at your design standards and permit them if they meet these criteria that are set out in the Escambia County Code. But the actual determination of whether to get to put the pier out over the water and get the state sovereign submerged land lease, that determination is made by DEP. With regard to the walkovers, it is kind of more in the nature of an easement over that lets them get from their property over. I think that we heard there was some information that DEP, or I think others said that staff, or I don't recall exactly who, but that does provide some protection for, the area between the leasehold line and the pier. So that's my understanding of it legally. I don't think we did anything illegal. If the pier is properly permitted and paid for by the leaseholder, then under the Attorney General opinion that Mr. Burns had referred to in another discussion on this, then, those are private piers. I do not think anybody can construe them as public piers. And Mr. Burns may have
agree with Mrs. Bass, and that those are two Attorney General opinions that were provided were, Attorney General opinions are not binding. Attorney General opinions can be used as persuasion, and that's what they're used, and throughout the state. Those particular Attorney General opinions, I believe, were issued by Attorney General Bob Butterworth, who was Attorney General for 16 years. And then he was superseded by Charlie Chris, and then I believe Bill McCollum, and then Pam Bondi, and then the current Ashley Moody, and then I think it's James Hudmeyer, who's current Attorney General. Haven't been any opinions different than those two that were previously issued by Attorney General Butterworth. If you see in front of you, you also see a timeline that the staff prepared, and basically what it does, it lays out all the steps that were taken by Mr. Bourgeois, who is the leaseholder at 1001 Panperia. You also see a letter that he dropped off, which is laying out the additional steps that he took with regard to contacting the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. At the Island Authority, we have worked very closely with the Department of Environmental Protection as it deals with piers that go over, well, actually, let's stop there. We dealt with them. They came up with they had a question to us about permits on the beach for application permits on the beach. And they had approved all of the piers on Pensacola Beach because what we would always do, and I'm speaking for people in the past, is the DEP would issue the permit first, and then the Island Authority would take the application and then step in with the pier amendment. So that's how DEP issued the permit first, and the Island Authority took any action. There's 13 piers that are in that section of Rio Vista that you're talking about. Of those 13 piers, only 2 are in question by the Department of Environmental Protection. The 5 out of those 7 piers, the reason they're not in question is because they go all the way to the water line. So DP is satisfied we provided them with the information on that when they asked us about documentation for those particular piers. Then when they asked about the other 2 piers, one was, I want to say it was 713 Rio Vista, and the other one was 1001. The 713, the DP issued a permit for that particular dock back in 2016. And so I don't think DP really has an issue with that, or if any statute of limitation has run on that particular. They issued the permit. That pier was built. Then the question is to the pier with the Bourgeois at. So what DEP came to us when the Bourgeois issue came to their attention again, and I want to say it was July of this year, could have been August. They asked us, hey, we understand that they don't have waterfront. There's public beach in between them and the waterfront. And they said, what we need from you is for you to let us know whether or not they have applied to build a pier. And my conversation back with them was, the process has always been, because it talked about the walkover. I said, the process has always been, you granted the permit first, and then we would decide, because all DEP permits state that they're subject to the local jurisdiction. So DEP said, okay, it would be out of order for our board to act on granting a walkover if there wasn't gonna be any pier. at that end. So DEP said, okay, let us know if they apply for a pier. So the Bourgeois applied for a pier application. When they did, several days later, DEP issued the permit. Once DEP issued the permit, then we came to the board with the walkover issue, which came before the board, and the board voted, I want to say 5-0, because Mr. Pino, I believe you were out of town when that vote occurred. So the next step was then to allow them to build the pier and do the pier amendment, which requires them to have insurance on the pier and all those things, naming the island authority. So the island authority is a beneficiary of that insurance policy. That vote, I believe, was in December, and that vote was 6-0. Mr. Bourgeois could not be here tonight because he is in Louisiana having a medical procedure. So that's why he also provided that statement, which basically lays out the same timeline that we've laid out. So, you know, we've been in conversation with the DEP. DEP has worked with us on multiple issues on the island, and I don't think there's going to be any difficulty in continuing to work with DEP. We're working with them on our beach nourishment project, which is a $35 million project. So I don't think we're going to have any trouble.
They're reversing the permit. They're reversing the permit along with saying that other permits are not correct.
Ma'am, you are not recognized by the chairman. You can speak. Mr. Burns is speaking, so, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Thornton's job said that.
We've had, excuse me.
He's lying to y'all.
Excuse me. So anyway, we've been working with DEP. Of course, Elizabeth Orr is director for Northwest Florida District. I've known Elizabeth from the past, but the main people we're working with is the permitting department, which is under Elizabeth. And we talked to them. I spoke to them last Friday. I spoke to them, I think it was on Monday, Tuesday after the Martin Luther King holiday. I spoke to them the Friday before that. So we've been working closely with DEP on these issues.
Mr. Burns, you were just accused of lying. Could you address, I'm not exactly sure what the comment, although it was out of order, was referring to, but it had something to do with the DEP permit. Has it been revoked? Could you advise us of the status, please?
No, ma'am. The DEP permit has not been revoked. It's still in effect. They have not sent any, I think they responded to a couple emails. I believe one of those emails may have been Mrs. Perino's email, and I believe the other one may have been Mr. Luker's email. That's when they reached out to us and asked us for 7 addresses that we had sent them coastal acknowledgement letters that they had asked us to send them a letter on. We did that. That's when they said okay, and that's when they approved the Bourgeois permit. But none of the pier permits have been revoked at this time.
Mr. Thornton, could I speak again since my name was invoked?
Ma'am, you're kind of out of order. We have a visitors forum.
I am signed up for public forum, but since Mr. Burns just invoked my name and so did Judge Timothy, I would like to be able to explain what I'm talking about. If someone would call me,
I'm not gonna be able to, I gotta stick with the format.
Well, if someone calls me, I can speak.
Yes, that's exactly right, Mr. Chairman. May I have the floor for a moment? I want to ask her.
Okay, come on up.
Yeah, what did you want to say?
Thank you.
Name?
Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Providence. Thank you, Mr. Childers. I wrote Elizabeth Orr, and I told her that I was thinking about putting in an administrative hearing request when I learned of this vote. Elizabeth immediately responded. She's always amazing like that, and she said she was gonna look into it, and she immediately CC'd a lot of people in DEP and communicated to me that she then was sending it up to a higher attorney than the attorney who had actually looked at the stuff to review this particular permit. The end result of that is that Mr. Burns is in receipt, the SRIA staff is in receipt of a communication directly from the permitting department at DEP with everybody CC'd that he apparently has not shared with you all, in which they communicated to SRIA staff that DEP had determined they had erroneously issued this permit. And not only this permit, but other previous permits were in question. You should all already, from Mr. Burns, be in receipt of a long list of addresses where DEP is saying, these are the ones we're concerned with, but we also need to know from you folks, are there other ones that we should be concerned with? And she did provide a potential list of remedies that may, in some cases, work. One of them is that you're the co-applicant on the permit. Another is that you just simply lease the land underneath, which I don't think is a political imbroglio. I don't know if all you want to entertain. The other one was a riparian easement. But it was communicated to Mr. Burns and should have been immediately sent to all of you people. Mr. Singley is here. He has asked questions about what has been communicated to the owners that are on the list that was sent to Mr. Burns and staff saying, DEP is admitting their error. So the thing is, this is not this board's fault. That is one thing that Mr. Burns and I definitely agree on. This is not y'all's fault, it's his fault. And he's not providing you with information. I specifically asked him today to forward to all of you an email that would have provided you with advance notice of the ordinances that Diane handed out and our policy and our request for what our position and our request for what we were asking for you a policy. So he is not telling you the truth. He has communication from DEP that says literally that they issued this permit that y'all are reconsidering and other permits in error, and that it all needs to be looked at. And I am so grateful for you to letting me come address that, Mr. Childers. I don't lie.
Well, I still have the floor here a moment. I don't know, no,
Sorry.
me.
I thought you were
But
asking
thank
me.
you very much. Yeah, she sent, and I did see part of that, and I think I got it from a letter that Mr. Lepper had received back from Elizabeth Thor, and I think that got forwarded, if I recall correctly. Yeah, thank you. And she talked about this, and one of the things she said was, please note the decision to provide the sufficient upland interest necessary to construct these docks rests with SRIA, not DEP. And she was very specific about that. And she went on, like you said, and admitted that DEP allowing a permit across public lands was an error.
Thank you.
And she said that, and I don't think it came from staff. I think it came from Mr. Luppert, and I again read it in John Zingley's article that, well said, by the way, the other day. Yeah, I appreciate your input on that. But yeah, Mr. Luppert,
I'm
circle
gonna have to,
back.
I'm gonna have to
Thank
grab
you.
the meeting back. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
My name was mentioned there too.
I'm not, what's gonna happen? Anyone else, any other board members have any comments on this before we take a vote?
To my knowledge, the last communication that I've received from the DEP or information relating to them was on the 12th, when they said what Mr. Childers said, that they had made an error, and they should have included a clear demonstration of riparian rights, also known as sufficient upland interest. And they were reaching out to the permittees to explain their error.
There's been a motion in second. There's been a motion, it's been second. Are there any more discussion discussion among board members?
Yes. So I really do appreciate you all coming and expressing your opinions. I have concerns that part of what you're saying is that the board, of which I've been a member for a year and 2 months, have been issuing permits or allowing docks in error since 2018. I don't know how that translates in terms of numbers of docks that have been issued. I think it's good that this matters on our radar. You've certainly got our attention. On the flip side, I have some concerns too about actions we've already taken and the bourgeois' pursuit of a pier, which began in November of 2024. I don't think I was even sworn in yet, with the Army Corps of Engineers. And they provided a timeline, and if you review it, I can only construe it as green light, green light, green light, green light, even from this board in unanimous decisions. And so now, the motion to rescind or reconsider says, tear it all up. I attended a meeting with Commissioner Hoffberger, a member of the county staff, Mr. Burns, and I asked, what kind of money have the bourgeois spent in reliance on our decisions? And the answer was at least $40,000 in materials, architects, you name it, relying on decisions that we made or the DEP made or, okay, I didn't interrupt the speaker, I'm just asking to please not interrupt me. I'm expressing my concerns that we have put a leaseholder in a position of relying on decisions that we made. Were we misinformed? That's what you're saying, but we made those decisions and we made them unanimously. Do we change going forward? Absolutely. Have you made valid points? Absolutely. Do we make it more difficult? Do we deny it? Do we hear from the DEP? Do we hear from the very people that are here tonight before we make the decision? I have no problem with that at all, and I'm glad you're here. I do have a concern about what we've already done and reversing that decision after the fact. And again, Mr. Childers' motion is to rescind the pier amendment, which in actuality protects the San Jose Island Authority. We're an additional insured. It says it has to meet safety standards. It has to provide a walkover to the public. That would be one step if we rescinded the pier amendment. We made earlier decisions that are not on the agenda to be rescinded. Maybe that's technicality, but I'm just pointing out there is a flip side to this, and if Mr. Bourgeois were here, I believe we'd be hearing from him in more detail about what they have done, he and his wife, in reliance on our decisions, rightly or wrongly made. So I just offer that again to emphasize that should the vote to rescind not pass, that I am 100% in favor of changing our procedures going forward and being more educated by whoever wishes to educate us before a vote is called.
Even if we rescind not the pier amendment, then that would be another motion made, but it just may not, they do the same thing, but it probably wouldn't matter. So I guess the vote is gonna be whether or not, the vote is on to rescind, reconsider the pier amendment, rescind it. So that, you have to do that before you do it. So you made the motion, it's been seconded. I'm gonna call the question, is everybody ready to vote?
I have one more question.
Okay.
And this might be a question for Mallory or Ms. Bass, but in the DEP email from January 12th, it says that further proof of upland interest would be required for the pier, and they list out 3 items. Whether this motion is rescinded or not, would there be further board action required for this pier to happen?
I don't believe so, that there wouldn't be any additional, well, it depends on which step you take. The three choices that the DEP put out were number one, was there an amendment to the peer application by the bourgeois, which allowed the Island Authority and the bourgeois to amend their application. The second was to grant the bourgeois riparian rights across that piece of property. That would require board action. And the third was to amend the lease that the bourgeois had. So those two were. The first one did not require board action.
And that one was SRIA listed as co-applicant.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is there any additional?
And excuse me, Charles, and that's why the DEP did not send any letters out to the 7 leaseholders that they identified, because they were gonna wait until see what happens here. And we had already gave them the information that requested, and 5 of the 7 were not in play at that point. So the only 2 were 713, which they issued a permit in 2016, and this particular one, which was 1001.
May I, Mr. Chairman? May I say something?
Any more questions, comments?
Comment?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I've not
All those
seen-
in favor?
No, he wants to say
Oh,
something.
yeah, go ahead.
Comment, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. The comment is towards what Ms. Timothy said, and it's, what I'm reading between the lines is she's concerned about a lawsuit. And we got pretty good lawyers sitting over there, in a room full of them sitting over there at the county commission meeting. I've not seen any receipts or any canceled checks. I don't know what the bourgeois have put into this, and let's say it is at the most, as Timothy says, $40,000. I think that's pales in comparison
Yes.
to what's gonna happen to this beach if we allow this. We keep trying to refurbish Baby Beach, and we're willing to spend money on it. This, according to coastal engineer, is gonna have that deleterious effect. The irony of all this is, as I find it, is our mission statement. And this is the mission statement of the SRIA, and it is to preserve our natural resources, manage growth, and promote eco-friendly tourism in a clean, safe community environment. That's our mission. And I think as stewards of this island, the one thing we need to do is to preserve Baby Beach. And when we try that repeatedly.
In order to do it, we need to take a vote on this particular amendment to rescind. We need to take a vote to rescind. It's been motion, it's been seconded, so do we rescind the original? All those in favor?
The motion is.
Okay,
to
the motion
reconsider the vote.
is that what we're voting on is to rescind.
I believe
Is to
this.
rescind, what we
Rescind.
passed the other court.
I think Ms. Schrock took it down for purposes of the minutes as it was, that
What
Mr.
was-
Childers'
what was the
motion was to rescind the action, which nullifies the prior action, and then you can bring it back up for, to discuss it and pass it or not pass it again, whatever you desire. And I believe that was correct, so, but again,
If you rescind it, it goes away.
Right.
It ends.
I would like a point of clarification, because the agenda says that it's a motion to rescind the vote on December 17th, the 6-0 vote to allow the pier amendment at 1001 Panferia Drive. So it's my understanding that if the motion to rescind carries, then the pier amendment itself would be reconsidered at a later date. There were earlier decisions, I just want the record to be clear what we're voting on.
I wanna, we're not voting to reconsider at a later date. We're voting to rescind that pier amendment, then we start from fresh. It ends, and somebody else would have to come up with another motion to do something different or something that have to be worked out. What this vote does is rescind the original, that we voted on. Everybody clear on that?
Yes, and just for clarification on that point, Ms. Jones can confirm this, but the peer amendment and its adoption is required before the Island Authority can review the design and construction plans for the pier. So it basically would freeze everything on proceeding with that pier.
Any additional questions before we take the vote? All those in favor of rescinding?
Aye.
Aye. All those, against it, nays, any nays? Okay, so far we have, three nays, three ayes, 2 nays. Did you vote? Nay, okay, so we have 3 nays and 3 noes. and
Please
it's
raise
gonna
your
take
hand if you
2/3.
voted
It would
nay.
take 4,
Who else voted nay?
it would take 4 in order to, rescind. Am I?
That is correct. Under the special act establishing the Island Authority, any action of the board must be supported by 4 members of the board. So you have to have 4 members to, pass the motion to rescind.
So the motion to rescind failed.
What was the vote?
What was the vote?
3-3.
3, and it takes 2/3, which is 4. I 2/3.
Shame on you.
Shame.
I'm so disappointed.
Shame.
Give it away.
So disappointed.
You're breaking the laws.
So
We
have
have
our own attorneys. So disappointed. So we have to spend more
Okay.
than 40,000,
Okay.
is that what it is?
No, out of order. Anything else coming from the ordinance is out of order, but we do have a section that we're gonna get to called visitors forum, if you want to speak.
Can't hear you.
But right now, we're gonna get down to,
Mike
report
Burns,
it.
next time, make sure your officers or other members know all the information.
Sergeant Whitman, could you please
What?
address the audience?
Hey, please don't speak out of order. There's another visitors forum where you'll get a chance to speak, okay? And when you speak, the people behind you can't hear them, when you mumble with one another. So just please remain in order. You'll have another opportunity to speak in the visitors forum.
okay, report of the financial.
Good evening. The November revenues are up 71.1% over last year's.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, I was distracted.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. The November revenues are up 71.1% over last year's revenues at this same period.
Thank
Yes.
okay. Any addition? Okay, number 2, recommendation from the selection review committee and approve the water bid. Okay. Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve the,
So moved.
Second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Okay, item number 2, recommendation from the selection review committee and approval to award a bid for boardroom and library renovation at the SRA. Staff report by Vicki Johnson.
The selection committee for RFP 2026-1 was held yesterday here at Santa Rosa Island Authority, and Mr. Burns was the chair of that meeting.
That's correct, and, just to let you know what happened, Mr. Keaton was also a member of that committee as the, secretary on the board. Lloyd Mater, who's been a general contractor for over 50 years, lives on Pensacola Beach. He was also, a member of that committee. Joey Robinson was also on that. Joey's a master electrician for over 30 years. What happened is we took the bids in on, I want to say it was Monday, if I'm not mistaken. We only had one contractor that bid on the job, and that was Green Simmons, also the same contractor that is bidding on, or actually is the contractor for the gantry project onto the beach. His bid was $141,000 over budget. And so we basically have, in our discussions, rejected his bid. And we're gonna get back with the with the architect, and ask the architect to go back to the contractor to see whether or not the contractor could make some adjustments in his proposal that would bring him under the budget amount for that. Also, we felt like, it's very hard to compare apples to apples when you don't have them, when all you got is one apple. So, those are things that we discussed. So we're gonna go back to the architect first, and then see what happens there. Then we'll look at reconvening the committee to see whether or not we can take further action to bring this particular project under budget, and then maybe put it back out for bid. So that's where we are. Mr. Jerry.
But those local contractors,
Only one local contractor, Jerry, did the job. And that was one of the concerns that Lloyd had. He said he thought that the specifications, and David, correct me if I'm wrong, may have been a little too over the top, and that's what scared away a lot of contractors from bidding that job. He didn't necessarily think that they used the right contract, and that may have caused a lot of the local contractors, as well as other contractors, because we did have inquiries from other contractors, but nobody bid on the job except for that one local contract.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Recommendation, I guess, is something.
So my recommendation is just to allow us to continue our course with the architect, and we do it because we're not gonna award a bid on a contract that's $141,000 over budget.
Do we need a motion on it?
I believe you could make a motion to allow us to continue.
Yes.
What question, are we gonna continue to look for other RFPs?
Sherry, that's what we do. We're gonna consult with the architect first. Let the architect then talk with the contractor, see if the contractor bring price under. If he can't, then what we do is, we rework it and put it back out for
Do
bid.
we, when we award this contract, if it's not local, do we encourage them to hire as many?
Always encourage local contractors, yes, sir.
Specifically, Mike,
Yes, sir.
what are you asking them to do,
So-
contractors? This is in this room right here, that's one of them, right?
This is it, and the other is the lobby with the bathrooms, right? And so, we're actually going from 2 bathrooms to 3, so to make sure it's ADA, meets all the ADA requirements. So that's
Nothing
something-
happening to the lobby other than just that?
basically that. Maybe
What are they gonna do
maybe
here?
new flooring, but, that would be the only other thing.
What are
So
they
they're
gonna
gonna
do?
excuse me.
What are they gonna do in here?
So they're basically gonna tear out the cabinets, and put some new cabinets in, one towards the back. They're gonna remove the dais and bring it forward, have a ramp, I believe, Vicki, that comes up on this side.
No ramp.
No ramp. There used to, that was originally, no ramp. So, that's what they're gonna do, kind of push all this forward and change the direction, so it's more, I would say, it's more flat versus angle here. So, really not a lot of electrical work, not a lot of AC work or anything like that. Gonna probably replace some of the ceiling, but yeah, that was that's why it was so surprising, like to Lloyd, who's been a general contractor for 50 years, that he goes, this doesn't make sense, that it's that high.
The motion would be for Mr. Barnes to continue negotiating the contract, and hopefully you can get us something that we could look at, whoever it is, when they finish, once we hear from them, hopefully they can give us an idea.
Right, otherwise, you know, I'm not gonna bring something to the board that's $141,000 over budget and ask you to approve that. That would never happen.
What was their bid if it was 141?
What's that?
If it was 141 over, what was their bid?
Their bid was $441,000. And so depending if you took the high end of the budget at $300,000 or the low end at $275, it could have been, you know, almost $175,000.
Sounds good.
The vote is not to, it's just for him to continue. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's it for that. Okay, executive,
We have the one
staff
item,
report.
add-on item, Chairman.
Staff report, we have the executive director's report.
Charles, I believe we have one additional add-on item that has to do with, what's that?
Yeah, add-on item, I'm happy to give that report.
Okay.
The request by Pier 1 Marina, Gulf Breeze LLC, DBA Pensacola Beach Marina, 655 Pensacola Beach Boulevard, to sublease to the law firm Sabine Bay to operate an event and wedding venue on leasehold property. Currently, the Pensacola Beach Yacht Club utilizes the third floor of the marina. Since they do not need the entire floor, the loft of Sabine Bay will take over a portion of the space to run an event and wedding venue. The event space can hold approximately 100 people with no requirement of in-house catering. Operations of hours will be by reservation only. And thank you, Matt Powell, the sublessee requestee, for sticking with us tonight. Staff recommends approval.
A question. When did that come in?
At the very beginning, it was an add-on item, and the board voted to amend the agenda.
Okay.
And Charles, the reason for that is they had to clear a default in order so that they could enter into a sublease, so that's what we had to make sure is that all the financials were taken care of, so that then this, master leaseholder could have a sublease.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, ayes have it. All those opposed? Ayes have it, okay. Okay, let's go to staff report. Executive director report.
Thank you, Charles, appreciate that. If you guys, look at the total numbers, still unbelievable. We're having, 11,000 plus people coming over in January, across the bridge. And, those numbers just continue to keep rising in this, shoulder season. But I really, the one number that really is very impressive, if you go back and look at the strong, like Vicki said earlier about the financials, the strong fourth quarter that we had on the beach. The numbers, that pushed our numbers up in December 5.1% over last year, to push our numbers to 2.2% over TDT dollars from the previous year. And I know Pam's probably happy about that, for more money coming out here to Pensacola Beach. And then when you look at the thing, it's interesting, District 4 makes up almost 50% of the dollars that are generated from the TDT, and 49+%, so right at 50% of the dollars, most of it coming from Pensacola Beach. There's some dates of interest that you want to put on your calendar. One of them is the Mardi Gras Parade on February 15th. That kicks off at 2 p.m. Line up to be a little earlier than that, but that gives me great time to thank and recognize Shelley Johnson for the outstanding job that she did this weekend with the Kids and Critters Parade. We had all kinds of kids out here enjoying that particular parade that takes place in the Pier parking lot. And hats off to you, Shelley, and all your group that put that event together. It was just a wonderful event for our kids out here on Pensacola Beach. Another event that I can't thank them enough was Jessica. She must have had to leave. Charlie's over there. Jack and Christine, AJ, Robbie, with our Snowbirds Beach Bash on Pensacola Beach. We did that last week, right? That was on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Those snowballs thought they got tricked last week.
Yeah, Jerry, the last year when we did it, they really got tricked because we got snowed out. And we had to move it to Flounders, was it Crabs? We did it at Crabs last year. But this, it's gotten more attended, well attended, since we've shifted it from Crabs. And we got to thank Robert from Bamboo Willie's for helping sponsor the event. And this is the thing, the proceeds from the event, all the profits from the event went to the Pensacola Beach Junior Lifeguards. $600 went to them. And we got that was just a great event. Another congratulations goes out to some local talent. Bruce, you're gonna know this person. Lizzie, you're gonna know them as well. Well, you're gonna know their parents anyway. And that's Charlie Young. Charlie Young grew up on this beach. And her mom is Cheryl Young, and Michael Griffith is her dad. And she lived on this beach. She went to Pensacola High School, and Jerry, principal there at one time. And anyway, she was in the IB program. She graduated from college and a master's degree from Dartmouth University. Well, she got invited to the Grammys, and yeah, that's pretty good. So be looking for Charlie Young on going up the pop charts in the next year. Hopefully she'll be receiving an award, but she's gonna be at the Grammys this Sunday night, February 1st. So I thought that was just great for her. Another thing that we really wanna thank everybody, and I mean everybody, all the residential leaseholders, all the commercial leaseholders, all our visitors. Pensacola Beach was selected #1 in the United States of America. That's the best beach in America by Condé Nast US Travel. That particular group is, and that award is awarded by their readers. 757,000 readers and voters selected Pensacola Beach as the #1 beach in the United States over beaches, other beaches in Florida. We got hats off to our friends down the street in Navarre. They came in second. South Carolina, North Carolina, California, and then the top beaches in Hawaii. #1 place, Pensacola Beach. Different groups, different business groups are gonna be working with the TDT to try and do a marketing campaign that you may see on like Good Morning America, Morning Joe, and different shows that come on to advertise Pensacola Beach as the #1 beach in the United States. And we couldn't have done it without everybody, our great visitors, our great leaseholders, and also our commercial and residential leaseholders. So that's my report. Thank you very much.
We certainly want to give the law enforcement an opportunity to thank them, because that's one of the things that I hear from relatives throughout the country about the safe and the way that they are treated here by law enforcement. And I say, I know we have an outstanding law enforcement here, and we care about visitors. And we want you to continue to come this way.
You're so correct, Jerry, and our sheriff's deputies that work out here, our public safety with our lifeguards and everything, our firefighters down the street, they all try their best, and also our EMS guys to do their best to keep everybody safe and let them have a great experience when they come to Pensacola Beach. Thanks you for that comment, Jerry.
Thank you, Director. Development Services Director's report.
You just did that.
Development
I think it's the attorney's report.
Next one should be, attorney's report.
Okay. Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I do have several updates for the board since my report was submitted in time to put it on the agenda. But on the 2 residential defaults that remain, you've seen those names on there multiple times. We are trying one more time to see if we can find some better addresses or contact information to assure they're not just, that our notices are getting to them. Some of the mail and certified mails have been returned, but I think if we're not successful in communicating or reaching them, and they don't cure, we're going to have to move forward with actually the next steps of the default proceedings, which would be posting the 3-day notice and actually terminating their leases and taking those leasehold properties back. I hope, we can resolve it before then, but I don't know. Turning to the next page of the report under litigation, I'm very pleased to report that the case by Jason and Amanda Stern against the property appraiser, tax collector, and island authority has been voluntarily dismissed as to the island authority. As I reported to you, we were working on a motion for summary judgment, and I, completed the research, was very confident that we would succeed on that motion, and I decided I would just pick up the phone and talk to the attorney, explain our position, and he very readily agreed that since we can't provide the relief he's seeking or he's asking for from the court, you have nothing to do with whether the property the land is taxed, and whether property and taxes are imposed. That is strictly the jurisdiction of the property appraiser, and you have no authority to convey the property in fee simple to the leaseholders if it is taxed. So he agreed that it's to save him time and money and to save us some, that he would just dismiss it. So that dismissal was filed, I think, on Monday, and so that matter is resolved and you will not see it again. The next matter under potential litigation and claims, I do have a status. The status part of that is, does contain new information. We were contacted by the Florida Department of Emergency Management just a couple of weeks before Christmas, after not hearing from them for several months on this, and we thought, well, maybe they're just going to go forward and close out this grant, but unfortunately, they advised us that no, they were ready to file suit, they were planning to do it, and they'd be serving us, within a day or two. We had calls with them, and after discussions, we agreed that we would take some action against the leaseholder, which we have not really taken the action we could take, and they agreed therefore to hold on filing suit. So what we have done is we sent the attorneys for the leaseholders a letter saying, we intend to default your client on the lease and move forward with taking the property back if you will not, your client will not voluntarily consent to us going in on the property and with the contractors that Mr. Burns has spoken with, fixing the property, completing the elevation work that is preventing FDM and FEMA from closing out the grant, and which would be the subject of the lawsuit where FDM would try to recover the $198,000 that has been dispersed under the grant. That money, we're just the pass-through, but FDM feels like they have to sue us, and then we'd have to sue the leaseholder. We think the better way to handle this is to default the lease and go in and fix it. It won't make the house, it won't put it in a condition where they would want to move in. None of these elevation projects do. What FEMA and FDM fund and what we have in participating in this offer to our leaseholders is the ability to come in and pay to elevate it and get it up off the ground and in compliance with the flood control regulations. Again, we have a contractor who says they believe they can stabilize the house, get the certificate of completion for that work, and FDM has advised us there's still some money under the grant. It may not cover everything, but we would hopefully be able to look to that and be reimbursed for that. We have sent a draft consent and access agreement to the leaseholders, and we're seeking their voluntary agreement to that and execution of it. I would like to ask the board tonight just to authorize, if we get that, because this is a matter of some sensitivity time-wise, but that if we get their voluntary agreement and they execute, that the board would authorize the chairman to execute on behalf of the Island Authority, and then allow us to proceed, Mr. Burns to proceed with the contractor to go in and hopefully resolve this matter and and get that threat of litigation, off of our back, so.
And just to add to what Mary Jane said, it's probably a little outside of the box thinking, but it's, been welcomed by the Florida Department of Emergency Management. It would help alleviate, the leaseholder from being on the hook for the reimbursement. If we had to litigate against them, it prevents us from having to litigate against them, so it could save us a lot of money in attorney's fees at the same time. I know Mary Jane, she likes the attorney's fees. I didn't get the other one back on the other issue, Bruce, but anyway. But it's just one of those things that, it's just a little creative, but I think it's got a great opportunity of working it in our favor, and hopefully we'll get the approval by the leaseholder so that we can move forward with that.
Does this take a notice to the public before we can actually vote on it as a board?
Well, the matter is on the agenda through my Oracle court, so I think, I think it would be fine if you wanna direct it or just, consensus vote of no objection to us doing that. So the chairman is authorized, the chairman is the one who executes agreements, and so I think it'd be most appropriate for him to execute with your authorization.
Specifically, what would you like the motion to say?
To authorize the chairman to execute a consent and access agreement, agreed to by the leaseholders, which would allow the, then the Island Authority to retain the contractor and hold them to complete the elevation work. You can just say so moved.
I don't think I can remember all that.
What she said, right?
What she said. I will make a motion to allow the executive director to enter into an agreement to, rescind their agreement, right? Is that close enough?
No, it would be for the chairman to execute the agreement,
Okay, for the chairman
to
to
allow
execute the
access to
agreement.
property.
Okay, I think I got that.
Proceeding with the work.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, development service.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Development Services. Before I get to the beach nourishment project, I do have two updates that came today. One, the ECU wave project is nearing its end, down in the last couple of weeks. They just have a couple punch list items. One of those items will be a beautification inspection. UCA will be involved, the Island Authority will be involved, and the county will be involved for that inspection. And then rolling into the next project, I just got this today from the engineering department. That is part of the packet with the traffic pattern change as of tomorrow night at 8 p.m. It will remain in effect from 24 hours for approximately 4 weeks, January 29th through February 10th, and then it'll roll into phase 2. This is also on our website, under our red banner, so the public can go to the SRIA website, click on it, it takes you to the Escambia County page with all of the information. You can even subscribe for updates. Moving into the beach renourishment project, we're excited to get that started as well. That should kick off 9 February. They have been on the beach since late December, moving all their equipment in. Exciting news, we are getting a new dredger from Texas. It's the largest hopper in the United States. So that will be down 9 February to kick off the beach renourishment project, and that's all I have.
And with that piece of equipment, that will help speed up the process on the renourishment of the beach. And it'll start on the west end of the beach, it'll be through the core. Say it starts on February 9th, it'll be through the core, which on the other side of 10th Avenue by March the 2nd, and hopefully be completed by April 13th, all the way down.
Who will operate the equipment?
Manson Construction, and they're also hiring local contractors and local workers to assist them, mainly on the beach side, driving equipment and relocating pipe.
Okay. Engineer report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to update the board, as I highlighted in my report, we're transitioning from
a standalone restroom facility on the Quietwater Boardwalk to a renovation of the existing restroom facility. Currently, we're moving forward with a complete renovation package for permitting, bidding, and construction. And this should substantially reduce our cost and save a lot of real estate on the boardwalk. And with that, I'll take any questions the board might have.
And really hats off to Jason and Mallory working on this project to get it way under budget from what it was originally. And I really appreciate your help working closely with Mallory and Mel and Britt in our development services. You know, that's really a huge cost saving.
Okay, moving right along. Public forum. Tom Jardine.
Stiff from sins. Tom Jardine, I've been here for 30 years on Pensacola Beach. I couldn't hear a couple things today, and I heard some things that I didn't agree with, so I want to cover a couple of those. Going back to the Baby Beach fiasco, the debacle, I'd say. On the September 10th meeting, it was very clear. I heard Mr. Lemos, Ms. Bass, and Mr. Bourgeois all announced several times that pier, that private pier that we approved, was contingent upon us granting a 92-foot riparian easement over the public beach. They all said, I have it on recording if anybody wants to hear it. That was the September 10th meeting when you guys were all here. My suggestion is that we rescind that 92-foot riparian easement. Now, yeah, I'd agree with Mr. Childers exactly. Who cares about $40,000? We'll pay the man if we cost him $40,000, we're glad to pay it. We got to stop giving away public beach. This lease system is doing it to us. We had fee simple legislation that we foolishly rejected that had federal protection over all the unleased land on Pensacola Beach, and we surrendered that, and now we're losing public beach all the time. We need to rescind that September 24th vote where we approved a riparian easement. Mr. Childers wasn't there. You guys voted 5-0. It was inscrutable. Nobody could explain why we gave away a 92-foot riparian easement over Baby Beach so they can build a private pier over our public waterways. Outrageous. Ownership status. I don't agree with what I heard today. My understanding is that Escambia County has successfully argued in Florida courts. The Florida courts have ruled that me, for example, 30% of the leaseholders, 1,200 of us, have the equivalent of fee simple ownership. That is the language they use. That is in quotes, fee simple ownership. And if our attorney says that I don't possess all the value of fee simple ownership, I'd like that in writing, please. I'm going to challenge my elected board member and my District 4 board member. I want that in writing from our attorney that she does not agree that we have the equivalent of fee simple ownership, that I possess all the value of ownership for my property, please. Mr. Burns mentioned that we had 49% of the bed taxes come from this island. We've known that. Nobody's even close. Perdido Key gets like 18%. They're our closest competition. We sometimes get 50%, and that's only the half of it. All these people who are staying on Airport Boulevard in those hotels are coming to Pensacola Beach. If they're coming here on Blue Angel Air Show, anywhere in this area, they're coming to Pensacola Beach. So those bed taxes we get on this island is just almost everybody who comes here on the weekend is coming to Pensacola Beach. All those bed taxes are coming from here, and you guys have not gotten our bed taxes. Mr. Burns kind of whitewashed. Okay, I saw that. That's it.
Okay, Melissa Pina.
Thank you, Chairman Thornton. Let's try this again. Melissa Pino, 413 Southeast Bogletts. $100,000, give or take. That's how much my husband and I personally spent on 6 years of advocacy that finally resulted in getting the shell piles out of the Bayou Grande and getting Navy Point Park protected. That's just a start of the last 10 years. The last time I was out here, most of y'all were on the dais, and I was in the process of getting the roundabout killed at Via de Luna and Fort Pickens. You're welcome. Guess everybody's not so sad that didn't go in. That was 3 years of my time all free, all pro bono. I'm not working for anybody. Kevin's wearing a t-shirt, public beach access for open. It started out open public beach access. We don't quit on beaches, every grain of sand. I have tremendous respect for Mr. Peden. I know that Mr. Watson's been on the board for a long time, and Judge Timothy, I don't mean to, I feel stupid, I feel like it's almost insulting to speak law to you. But when you're somebody that's been working on beach issues and you look at these arrows, you can see in a hot minute they don't have riparian rights. Mr. Burns, I pretty much had his number, but that was a test today, see if he was gonna email you guys that information. I knew he probably wasn't going to. That's why I didn't go to the work of finding your addresses. I wanted to test him and see if he was gonna provide you with the information. You guys are gonna get sued unless you come up with a way to finesse this, which is what we believed our policy is, and Mr. Childers is so right. This ground I'm standing on, I own it. Y'all own it. Everybody in this room owns it. The public has standing. Now, I do feel for this gentleman, but that doesn't mean that you guys can legislate in a way that breaks county ordinance. And the list of things, and it wasn't just 7 addresses, that's another misrecollection. The list of things that DEP provided were not necessarily guaranteed prescriptions. There was a very clear may used. This list of things may provide the sufficient upland interest to allow us. There's no guarantee. DEP is not guaranteeing anything. So I don't think that the vote that you took today was catastrophic, because I did catch the subtlety that you still have to be able to look at the design of things. You're going to get sued by the public if you continue to allow these docks. And then you'll have a bigger mess getting sued by the millionaires and billionaires who own them. Or you could consider a policy that is a compromise that makes all the stakeholders happy. That's really your options. And so I hope you will continue to think on this, and we will continue to engage with it. 10 years every day, public beach access, 10 and a half. Haven't gone away yet.
Steve Blumford.
Steve Liquidato, 6 Rio Vista Drive. I don't know where to start with this. Mr. Watson, you've destroyed our public area down there, the traditional use, all the voting you've done on those piers. Mr. Thornton, you've been part of it too. Mr. Burns, you're saying private piers down there where I've lived for almost 50 years. You also stated that, if those were something about the insurance, if those were private piers, you would not be able to require the owner to have insurance on it, just like my house. I own my house, I own my properties. I don't have to carry insurance on my properties. Those pier agreements down there, they were written for the public to use. You talk about those crossovers, like that's all you're supposed to do, is just use that crossover. There's nothing in you folks that you all have provided to us that says that these are private structures down here. They're not. You haven't provided a thing. You should get your executive director to explain this to you. Does that not make any sense? How about the insurance thing? Why would the Santa Rosa Island Authority require something that somebody else owns to carry insurance? Can anybody explain that? Does that make sense? Mr. Burns, you're the man here. You created this mess. Explain it to us. Now, this is my time at the podium. I would sure like for one of you people to ask the director about these private piers. He walked this area last week with the county commissioner, I think with Mr. Day. Did you carry tape down there and mark, Mr. Burns, where these private piers are? I use this area every day, several times a day. You're restricting use. I had to get my personal stuff off of the beach so that these people can build these piers down there. Mr. Day went through there, code enforcement, made people get their stuff out of there, and now you're letting an individual go down and have exclusive private use, and you can't show a thing that it is private. It's a bluff, what you and Ms. Bass are saying, Mr. Burns. Is anybody going to call him on this? Do you have any documentation whatsoever besides an opinion, which he's referring to, which I've looked for? and the opinion didn't apply to Pensacola Beach, leased property where there's no riparian rights. You're getting bluffed here. Also, I do have other correspondence from DEP. I don't think they shared the rest of it with you. I did an information request through DEP. This is just the tip of the iceberg here. Mr. Johnson even admitted at the December 17th meeting that 20% of these piers are on public area.
Thank you. Diane Cronk.
To say that I'm disappointed is an absolute understatement. There were ordinances put in place. You guys have those ordinances. What is it that you think you're above the law, that these ordinances carry no weight? In there, it explicitly says that you cannot, there are no more leases after 2018 on any currently unleased properties. What do you call this new pier that you have just approved? What do you call that? It's going over conservation and recreation areas? That property, that belongs to the citizens of Escambia County. To say that I am ashamed of those of you that voted against this is an absolute understatement. The citizens of Escambia County have spoken, and they demand that their laws that we put in place be represented. So what am I going to do? Go to the county commissioners at their next meeting? I'll be making phone calls, I can assure you of that. I will be calling these county commissioners and asking them, why do we even bother putting ordinances in place when you just run, I don't know, rogue out here and do whatever you feel like doing, and with total disregard for the laws? What is it? Can you explain that to me? Why do you think that we put these ordinances in place? For you just to say, oh, I'm gonna do whatever I want, I don't care. And $40,000, you sold out our public beaches for $40,000, shame. Shame. There is just no excuse for that. Those beaches belong to the people. And it was in that deed, the 1947 deed, that guaranteed that. And it was to be used in the public's interest. How is that walkover over riparian lands? How is that even feasible? I will be making phone calls, and you have not heard the last of this. You have not. And I'm hoping that some of the other folks that have spoken here tonight, that you will listen to them and find a way to get out of this $40,000 shame on you.
Thank you. Pam, Craig here.
Come back to follow. Pam Craighead, 304 Avenue 15. Some of the things that have already been said a lot better than I can probably say them. I am embarrassed by this meeting, quite frankly. As a little side note, you all might want to bring in some kind of educational corporation to help you learn how to conduct the meetings better. But that's just from sitting back there for 2.5 hours and watching this all take place. Basically, 3 of you sat up here tonight and said, we made a mistake, we know it's a mistake, oh well, for $40,000. And I wholeheartedly echo the sentiment of shame on you, truly shame on you. Mr. Burns, you said that Condé Nast voted our beach as one of the best. That includes Baby Beach. That includes all of the beach here, not just Casino Beach. It includes all of our beach, and you just gave it away. And I will just end with one little tidbit, because I hear a lot of opinions. Everybody's got opinions. You all rely on your staff to give you the information, and I don't think you're getting it. This is not the first case. I never get up and speak at these meetings because I'm not a great public speaker, but I was an air traffic controller for 30 years. And I'll tell you right now, if we didn't follow our rules, people's lives were in jeopardy. You're not following the rules, you're endangering this beach for generations to come. You can't get it back. We see what's happened at Baby Beach with that stupid rock that was allowed to have been put down years ago by a previous executive director. And you can't get rid of it. You can spend all the money you want sifting it and everything else, and then you go walk down there the next day, and there it is again. So the decisions you're making about these piers will have an impact on Pensacola Beach for generations. Thanks.
And legal precedent on
Thanks.
this. That's
Kevin,
right.
Good
job. You addressed that better.
Yeah. Legal precedent for the whole island. Whole
Highway
island,
413 Southeast Paulis. The land is plain. You got people like Pam here who help guide you down. Honestly. That, I am embarrassed. Mr. Childers, rock on, sir, thank you. Well spoken. We can see who's getting their marching orders from who. Who's lying about, well, there's your marching orders. You know, you're welcome. You are welcome. There is no roundabout. Okay? I had to learn SRIA math. SRIA math is the math that goes into roundabouts and traffic dwell times, on and on and on and on. Now, at one point, we came out here over and over and over again, and I pretty much said this SRIA is a kangaroo show. They're just gonna pass this stupid thing. They're just gonna go ahead and pass it. And they went ahead and passed it. They went ahead and passed it. And it got down to the Board of County Commissioners. Just like this, the bourgeois dock is going to end up getting bounced by DEP. So, all right, you dodged that bullet, but you're gonna spend 400 grand. You'll save that 140 extra, but you're gonna spend 400 grand refurbishing this, you know? All right. Huh?
You're talking about this.
This, yes, really, 400 grand. Knock it down a little bit, get rid of this water machine, you know, put in a nice like latte machine or something like that, drop that thing in half, pay the bourgeois 40 grand, then the 40 grand isn't even coming to SRIA. That's just gone out the window all over the place. And at the Board of County Commissioner meeting, we stood up and we said, 8,000 cars a day will cause the roundabout to choke. And we had to get the engineer to stand up and say, well, yes, you're right. 8,000 cars a day will probably cause an emergency management plan to be enacted. And the board said, well, where's our emergency management plan? And the designer said, well, you can pay us to come up with an emergency management plan.
Thank you so much.
But now you're looking at
Time is up.
day after day after day, more than that.
Thank you. Board members?